All right, guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Fork Over the Ring, where we all know the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. And today, y'all, we are making a seafood mac and cheese. So that is crab, lobster, and shrimp. All of it together, and baby, I promise you it's going to be the best thing you ever had. So the first thing we start off with, guys, are our lobster. I get lobster tails from my local grocery store because they always have a sale. And if they don't have a sale, I ask the man in the seafood department to help me out, okay? So I get the lobster and I cut it down the middle. And I cut it down the middle, and you'll see later. When I cut it, I break it open so that when I put it in the skillet, they can lay flat and they can cook evenly. Because the worst thing you can do is have some overcooked, chewy lobster. So I go ahead, y'all, and I heat my skillet up on medium high heat and I melt some butter out, just enough to coat the bottom of the pan. And then I go ahead and I get ready to lay my lobster flat down. The side that I cut open, lay it flat. Again, you want them to cook evenly and you do not want to make overcooked, chewy lobster. So after that, what you want to do is you want to go ahead and make sure that you are constantly flipping it. And just like when you go to Red Lobster or whatever, lobster is done by the color. I always tell my lobster is done based off of what color that shell turns into. It was cooking a little too fast for me, so I added a little water and I also add some salt on top. That's all the seasoning you need when you're cooking the lobster part. Really the crab too. You just need a little bit of salt. So I go ahead and I cook those. I turn them around. As you can see, it's starting to get that pretty red color, y'all. So we are almost done with the lobster. It should. My lobster typically cooks for about 5 to 8 minutes. I try not to go that far over or too much over it, especially when I know I'm going to put it back in the oven with the macaroni a little bit later. So go ahead and just let that cook on down. Next, we're going to start on our crab. So I use I said crump, lump crab meat. I put it in my skillet with some olive oil. I don't use butter this time because you don't need all the extra salt when I add the salt to this crab, because crab really does take on flavor really easy. I go ahead and I cook that down a very little bit, not too long, again because it is going to go back in the skillet. So go ahead and cook that on down for a little bit. And then we're going to start on our cheese. Now, I use sharp white cheddar, sharp cheddar, smoked Gouda, and monster cheese. I could not find my big shredder, so I just went ahead and cut it up small because I'm going to put it in the skillet anyway, so it don't even matter. So go ahead and chop that on up as small as you can or until you get tired of chopping. Next, we're going to start off with a stick of butter, which is 1/4 cup. Use butter, not margarine, y'all. You want to go ahead, start there. You want to melt it on down. And then you are going to cut up some shallots. You're going to cut those on up really good and just throw it on up in there. And that is about 1/4 cup worth. Then you are going to add about another 1/4 cup worth of parsley and a little bit of cilantro. But for the shallots, you want to cook those until they're a little translucent. You add that on in there. You're going to see it start thickening up. And then we're going to add another 1/4 cup of flour this time. And put it in there, and you want to mix it together until it almost makes like a paste. Because you don't want it to be lumpy, but you want to make a paste so when you start to add your liquids, you know it'll thin out perfectly fine. And this is what's going to make your cheese nice and thick to spread through all your stuff. So I add milk and heavy whipping cream. So I add those. I will put how much I add at the bottom in the description box, but then I started adding my cheese. Now, you have to be careful. I put this on medium-high heat, guys. You have to be careful to not let your cheese burn at the bottom because it will burn really quick. And I don't add all my cheese at once. I just add a little. I see it starts to melt. Then I add some more. After I add my cheese, I add my seasoning. So I add Old Bay salt, fresh ground black pepper. I like hot stuff, so I do add a little bit of chili flakes. I also add some adobe, and I use Flavor Guys again, and they have a really good chipotle one, and I add that just for a little extra bite. So you mix all that in together, and then in the second pot where your noodles are, you want to mix in your crab, your lobster, and your noodles. You mix all those in together, and I add my shrimp too. I do not cook my shrimp previously because it's going to cook in the oven. And you just layer all that in together, y'all. So I put a layer of the pasta mix with the cheese in it, then I add a layer of cheese. A pasta mix, then cheese again. You keep doing that until you're at the very top, and then you're going to put that in the oven on 400 degrees for about 20-25 minutes. And y'all, it's going to be amazing. So you'll see in a minute the finished product. This is really one of my favorite meals to make. It's really easy. Everyone's going to be super impressed when you make it. I don't know a man that don't love cheese. Like, it's going to be something great to do. You guys, let me know if you tried this recipe, how it turns out for you, if you like it, and what else you would like to see on my channel. Please also like this video, rate it. I'm sorry, like it, subscribe it, and share it to your friends. I really do want to grow my channel. And look at that. It's so good, y'all. I want to grow my channel. Make sure you guys follow me on social media. I'll link those below in the description box. And I can't wait for the next video. I'm also thinking about doing a giveaway, so keep that in mind, guys. All right, so you better come up. I just want you guys to look with your ears, okay? Just look with your ears.